I should have known something was wrong when my wife spent more time in Liam's arms than mine at our anniversary party. The Harbor Light Community Center buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses. 25 years of marriage deserved a celebration, or so Brooke had insisted. She'd planned everything down to the last detail, the decorations, the catering, even hiring Denise Mitchell as our photographer. "We need to document this milestone, Miles," she'd said with that bright smile that used to make my heart skip. "Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories." Now, watching her sway to the music with my supposed best friend, that same smile felt like a knife between my ribs. "Another beer, Miles?" Cal Rodriguez appeared beside me, his weathered fireman's hands already reaching for my empty bottle. We'd worked together at Station 19 for 8 years, and he read people better than most. "Make it 2, I muttered, eyes still fixed on the dance floor. Brooke threw her head back, laughing at something Liam whispered in her ear. Her auburn hair caught the light, and for a moment she looked exactly like the woman I'd married in this same community center 25 years ago. Except back then, she'd been dancing with me. "How long has this been going on?" Cal asked quietly, following my gaze. "Officially? Tonight's the first time I'm admitting it to myself." I took a long pull from the fresh beer. "Unofficially? Probably months." Liam Prescott had been my friend since college. He'd been my best man, godfather to the kids we never had, the guy who helped me move furniture and borrowed my tools. He was also everything I wasn't: smooth, successful, and apparently irresistible to my wife. "What are you going to do about it?" Before I could answer, Harriet Chen materialized beside us like a gossip-seeking missile. Brooke's closest friend had always rubbed me the wrong way, but tonight her predatory smile made my skin crawl. "Aren't they sweet together?" she purred, phone already out and recording. "Brooke's been so happy lately. Just glowing, you know?" The way she emphasized glowing made it clear she knew exactly what was happening. Worse, she was enjoying it. "Yeah," I said slowly. "She certainly seems energized." On the dance floor, Liam's hand had migrated to the small of Brooke's back. She leaned into him, their bodies fitting together like puzzle pieces. 25 years of marriage, and she'd never melted into me like that. Captain Ruiz approached our little group, his sharp eyes taking in the scene. "Hell of a party, Turner. Your wife really outdid herself." "She's talented that way." The words came out more bitter than I'd intended. The song ended, but Brooke and Liam didn't separate. Instead, they stood there whispering, her hand resting on his chest. When the next song started, a slow ballad that had been our song once upon a time, they began swaying again. That's when something cold and calculating settled in my chest. Not rage, exactly. More like the calm focus I felt when fighting a 3-alarm fire. Time to assess the situation, identify the hazards, and take decisive action. "Excuse me," I said to the group, setting down my beer. I walked to the small stage where the DJ was set up. The kid couldn't have been more than 20, all enthusiasm and energy. He looked surprised when I tapped his shoulder. "Mind if I make an announcement?" "Sure thing, Mr. Turner. It's your party." He handed me the microphone, and I felt the weight of it in my hands. The room was still buzzing with conversation, most people oblivious to the drama unfolding on the dance floor. But that was about to change. "Excuse me, everyone." My voice cut through the chatter, and heads turned toward the stage. "If I could have your attention for just a moment." The music faded. Brooke and Liam finally separated, both looking up at me with expressions I couldn't quite read. Surprise, guilt, fear. 25 years ago, I married the most beautiful woman in Millbrook. I found Brooke's eyes across the room. I promised to love her, honor her, and cherish her for better or worse. A few people smiled, probably expecting a sappy anniversary speech. Harriet had her phone up again, recording everything. Tonight I realized that sometimes worse means watching the person you love choose someone else. The room went silent. So I'm releasing her from those vows. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wedding ring. 25 years of wearing it had left a permanent indentation on my finger. The gold band caught the light as I held it up. Brooke, you're free to dance with whoever makes you happy. I set the ring on the nearest table and walked toward the exit. Behind me, I could hear the explosion of whispers and gasps. Someone, probably Harriet, was still recording. Good. Let them document this moment. Brooke called my name, her voice sharp with panic, but I didn't turn around. I'd spent 25 years turning around for her. Tonight, I was walking away. The cool October air hit my face as I stepped outside. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold. Adrenaline, maybe, or relief. After months of pretending not to notice the late-night phone calls, the mysterious errands, the way she lit up when Liam's name appeared on her screen, I'd finally stopped pretending. My phone buzzed. A text from Denise. Got some interesting shots tonight, call me. I smiled for the first time in hours. In firefighting, we had a saying, sometimes you have to set a backfire to stop a wildfire. Tonight, I'd just lit the match. The house felt different when I got home. Smaller, maybe. Or just emptier, even though nothing had physically changed. I sat in my recliner, the one Brooke always complained about, and tried to process what I'd just done. My phone had been buzzing non-stop since I left the party. 17 missed calls from Brooke, 12 from Liam, and about 30 text messages I wasn't ready to read. I turned it off and poured myself 3 fingers of the good whiskey I'd been saving for a special occasion. This seemed special enough. The front door slammed open around midnight. Brooke burst in, still wearing her party dress, but looking like she'd been through a tornado. Her makeup was smeared, her hair disheveled, and her eyes were red from crying. "Miles! What the hell was that?" She stood in the doorway, hands on her hips, looking more angry than ashamed. That was me telling the truth. I took another sip of whiskey. Something you seem to have trouble with lately. You humiliated me, in front of everyone. I humiliated you? I set down my glass and really looked at her. Brooke, you spent our anniversary party grinding on another man. I just pointed out the obvious. Liam and I are just friends. Friends don't whisper sweet nothings in each other's ears while slow dancing to their spouse's wedding song. She opened her mouth to argue, then seemed to deflate. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I'd fallen in love with. Vulnerable, uncertain, human. Miles, It's complicated. No, it's not. It's actually pretty simple. I stood up, surprised by how steady I felt. You're in love with him. Have been for months, maybe longer. The only complicated part was watching you pretend otherwise. Tears started flowing again. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, and instead of talking to me about it, you decided to parade it around town while keeping me as your safety net. That's not, isn't it? I walked to the kitchen counter where she always left her purse. Mind if I see your phone? The color drained from her face. Miles, don't. But I was already reaching for her purse. She lunged for it, but I was faster. Her phone was right on top, and it wasn't even locked. The text messages were all there, months of them. Sweet good mornings from Liam, complaints about me, plans for secret meetups. Miles is working late again. Want to grab dinner? I read aloud. He's been so distant lately. I need someone who actually listens. I scrolled down. Can't wait to feel your arms around me again. Stop. Her voice was barely a whisper. I think about leaving him, but the timing never feels right. I looked up at her. When exactly was the right timing going to be, Brooke? After you'd drained our savings account? After you'd turned all our friends against me? I wasn't trying to turn anyone against you. No? Then why does Harriet look at me like I'm some kind of monster? Why has Jennifer stopped inviting us to dinner parties? Why do I feel like everyone in town knows something I don't? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Here's what's going to happen, I said, setting her phone on the counter. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling David Morrison. Remember him? My lawyer? The one who helped us buy this house? Miles, please, we can work this out. No, we can't, because working it out would require you to choose me, and we both know that's not going to happen. I walked past her toward the stairs. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we'll start dividing things up. Where are you going? To bed. It's been a long night. I was halfway up the stairs when she called after me. I do love you, Miles. I always have. I paused, my hand on the banister. For a moment, I almost turned around, almost asked if we could try counseling or a separation or anything that might save 25 years of marriage. Instead, I said, I know you do, but you love him more. The next morning, I woke up to an empty house. Brooke's car was gone, along with a suitcase and most of her clothes. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. Staying at Mom's for a few days. We need to talk when you're ready. I crumpled up the note and threw it away. Then I made coffee, called in sick to work, and dialed David Morrison's office. Miles Turner, I said when his secretary answered. I need to file for divorce. Word travels fast in a town of 8,000 people. By Monday morning, everyone at the firehouse knew what had happened at the anniversary party. The looks ranged from sympathetic to curious to barely concealed amusement. Heard you made quite the speech Saturday night, Captain Ruiz said as I was checking equipment on Engine 19. News travels fast. Harriet Chen posted the video on Facebook, got about 300 comments so far. I looked up from the hose I was inspecting. She posted what? The whole thing. You announcing the end of your marriage, walking away, leaving your ring on the table. Very dramatic stuff. My stomach dropped. I'd known Harriet was recording, but I hadn't thought about what she might do with the footage. How bad is it? Depends on your perspective. You come off looking pretty dignified, all things considered. Your wife and Liam, not so much. Cal appeared around the side of the truck. Turner, you need to see this. He handed me his phone, Facebook already pulled up. The video had been posted to the Millbrook Community Group, a collection of local gossips and busybodies that somehow included half the town. The caption read, "When keeping it real goes wrong. Prayers for the Turner family during this difficult time." I watched myself on the small screen, standing on that stage with the microphone. I looked calmer than I'd felt, more in control than I'd expected. But what really caught my attention was the background, Brooke and Liam's faces when I started speaking. The guilt was written all over them. Look at the comments, Cal said. I scrolled down. Most were supportive, expressing sympathy for what I was going through. But there were others. About time someone called them out. I saw them together at Rossetti's last month. Thought it was weird. My cousin works at the Marriott, said they've been meeting there for months. Poor Miles. He deserved better. Each comment felt like a small vindication. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. Other people had seen what I'd been too blind, or too trusting, to notice. There's more, Cal said, taking back his phone. Someone started a thread about all the places people have seen them together. It's like a timeline of the affair. Jesus. Gets worse. Liam's been commenting, trying to do damage control. Says you misunderstood what you saw. Claims he was just being a supportive friend. Let me guess. Nobody's buying it. Would you? The alarm bell rang, cutting off our conversation. House fire on Elm Street. For the next 4 hours, I lost myself in the familiar rhythm of firefighting, the controlled chaos, the teamwork, the simple clarity of serious decisions. It was a relief to focus on something other than my imploding marriage. But when we got back to the station, reality was waiting. Turner, you've got a visitor, Captain Ruiz said as we were cleaning equipment. I looked up to see Liam standing in the bay doorway, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. "Can we talk?" he asked. The firehouse went quiet. Everyone was suddenly very interested in their equipment maintenance. "Sure," I said, setting down the air tank I'd been checking. "Let's step outside." We walked to the parking lot behind the station. Liam kept glancing around like he was afraid someone might overhear us. "Miles, this whole thing has gotten out of hand." "Has it? That video, the comments, the gossip, it's destroying both of us. Brooke can barely leave her mother's house. And," he stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language, "and we need to fix this. Put out a statement or something. Tell people it was all a misunderstanding." But it wasn't a misunderstanding. "Come on, man. We've been friends for 15 years. You know I would never—" "Never what? Never sleep with my wife? Never spend months sneaking around behind my back? Never whisper sweet nothings in her ear at my anniversary party?" His face flushed red. "It's not what you think." "Then explain it to me. Explain the text messages. Explain the hotel visits. Explain why my wife of 25 years looks at you the way she used to look at me." He opened his mouth, then closed it. For a moment, I thought he might actually tell the truth. Instead, he said, "She was lonely, Miles. You work all the time, you never talk to her anymore. She just needed a friend. A friend who takes her to hotels. We didn't—" He trailed off, unable to finish the lie. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said. "If you'd just been honest from the beginning, I might have respected you for it. People fall in love. Marriages end. It happens. Miles. But instead, you both decided to make me look like an idiot. How long were you planning to keep it up? Until I caught you in bed together? Until the whole town was laughing behind my back?" "Nobody was laughing at you." "Weren't they? Check Facebook, Liam. Read the comments. Apparently everyone knew but me." He looked genuinely stricken. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Then you should have stayed away from my wife." I turned to walk back into the firehouse, but he grabbed my arm. "What do you want from me? You want me to grovel? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it happened. I'm sorry you found out this way. I'm sorry about everything. But I love her, Miles. And she loves me." I looked down at his hand on my arm, then back up at his face. "Then you should have had the balls to tell me that 6 months ago." I pulled free and walked away. Behind me, I heard him call my name, but I didn't turn around. I was done turning around. The divorce papers were filed on Wednesday. By Thursday, Brooke was calling everyone we knew, trying to control the narrative. I heard about it from Jennifer Walsh, who'd been our neighbor for 10 years. "She says you're having some kind of midlife crisis," Jennifer told me over the fence while I was raking leaves. "Claims you've been distant and cold for months." "What do you think?" Jennifer was quiet for a moment, watching her kids play in the backyard. "I think marriages are complicated, and I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But I also think if my husband caught me dancing with another man, the way Brooke was dancing with Liam, he'd have done a lot more than make a speech." "Meaning?" "Meaning you handled it with more class than most men would have." That evening, I was grilling a burger for dinner when Cal showed up with a six-pack and a grim expression. "We need to talk," he said, settling into one of my patio chairs. "About?" "About the fact that half our friends are choosing sides and it's getting ugly." I flipped my burger and cracked open a beer. "What do you mean?" "I mean Tom and Lisa invited me to their Halloween party this weekend, then spent 10 minutes explaining why you weren't invited. Apparently, Brooke told them you've been emotionally abusive for years." "Emotionally abusive?" "Her words, not mine. She's also claiming you threatened her the night of the party." I nearly dropped my beer. "I never threatened her." "I know that. You know that. But she's telling people you did, and some of them are buying it." "Which people?" Cal rattled off a list of names, Couples we'd socialized with for years, people I'd considered friends. The Walshes, the Morrisons, the Hendersons, all of them apparently convinced that I was the villain in this story. What exactly is she telling them? That you've been controlling and jealous? That you never let her have male friends? That Liam was just a shoulder to cry on and you blew it out of proportion? I sat down heavily in the chair across from him. And they believe her? Some do. Others are waiting to hear your side. I don't have a side. The facts speak for themselves. Do they? Because unless you've got proof of the affair, it's your word against theirs. I thought about Brooke's phone, the text messages I'd seen that night, but I hadn't taken screenshots, and I doubted she'd be careless enough to leave that evidence lying around again. There's something else, Cal said. Liam's been making his own calls, telling people you attacked him in the firehouse parking lot. I never touched him. I know, I was there, but he's claiming you threatened him, maybe even pushed him around. The burger was burning. I got up to flip it, my hands shaking with anger. So let me get this straight. I catch my wife having an affair, I handle it without violence or drama, and somehow I'm the bad guy? Welcome to the court of public opinion. What do you think I should do? Cal was quiet for a long moment. I think you should fight back. How? The same way they are. Start telling your side of the story. Show people the evidence you do have. What evidence? That video, for starters. Anyone with eyes can see what was really happening on that dance floor. And there's got to be more. Receipts, credit card statements, something that proves they were meeting up. I thought about it while I ate my burnt burger. Fighting back felt petty beneath me, but watching my reputation get destroyed while Brooke and Liam played the victims felt worse. There is one thing, I said finally. What? Denise Mitchell took photos all night at the party, professional ones, not just phone snapshots. If there's evidence of what was really happening between them, she'd have it. Cal grinned. Now you're thinking like a firefighter. When you're fighting a wildfire, sometimes you have to set a backfire. The next morning I called Denise. She agreed to meet me at Rossetti's diner, the same place where people had apparently seen Brooke and Liam together for months. Denise was already there when I arrived, a manila envelope on the table in front of her. I wasn't sure if I should call you or not, she said as I sat down, but after seeing that video online and hearing what people are saying. What are people saying? That you're some kind of monster, that you humiliated your wife for no reason. She slid the envelope across the table. These tell a different story. I opened it and spread the photos across the table. There were dozens of them, candid shots from throughout the evening. In every single one that included both Brooke and Liam, they looked like lovers. The way they stood close together, the way they touched, the way they looked at each other. It was all there, captured in high resolution. Jesus, I whispered. There's more. Denise pulled out her phone and showed me a video. I was filming the dancing when you made your announcement. Watch what happens right before you start talking. On the small screen, I could see Brooke and Liam swaying to the music. But this angle showed something I hadn't seen from the stage. Liam's hand sliding down to cup Brooke's ass, her pressing against him in response. It was brief, maybe 3 seconds, but unmistakable. They weren't just dancing, Denise said. They were all over each other. I stared at the photos spread across the table. In one, Liam was whispering in Brooke's ear while his hand rested on her lower back. In another, she was looking up at him with an expression of pure adoration. In a third, they were standing by the bar, her hand on his chest, both of them laughing at some private joke. Can I get copies of these? Already made them. She handed me a flash drive. Everything's on there. Photos, videos, the works. Why are you doing this? Denise was quiet for a moment. Because I've been married for 30 years, and I know what it looks like when someone's having an affair. And I also know what it's like when people try to make you feel crazy for seeing what's right in front of your face. Thank you. What are you going to do with them? I pocketed the flash drive. I'm going to tell the truth. That afternoon, I created my own Facebook post. I kept it simple, factual, and devastating. Some of you have seen the video from my anniversary party, and I appreciate the support during this difficult time. Others have heard a different version of events, so I thought I'd share some additional context. These photos were taken by our photographer throughout the evening. I'll let you draw your own conclusions about what was really happening that night. I uploaded 20 of the most damning photos. Brooke and Liam dancing intimately. Brooke and Liam whispering by the bar. Brooke and Liam standing so close they might as well have been glued together. In every single shot, they looked like a couple celebrating their own anniversary. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, there were 50 comments. Within 2 hours, 100. By evening, the post had been shared dozens of times. Holy shit, Miles, I had no idea. These pictures tell the whole story. I'm so sorry. Anyone who thinks you overreacted needs to see these. Brooke and Liam should be ashamed of themselves. But the comment that meant the most came from Tom Henderson. I owe you an apology. We all do. My phone started ringing around 6 o'clock. First Brooke, then Liam, then Harriet, then a dozen other people. I let them all go to voicemail. Cal showed up around 7 with pizza and beer. Well, he said, settling in front of my laptop to read the comments, you've certainly stirred up the hornet's nest. Any regrets? Are you kidding? This is better than cable TV. He scrolled through the responses. Look at this one. Apparently someone saw them at the Marriott 3 different times in September. I was working overtime in September, trying to save money for Christmas. And this one, Jennifer Walsh says she saw Liam leaving your house one afternoon when you were at work. Each revelation felt like a small vindication, but also like a fresh wound. How long had this been going on? How many people had seen them together while I was obliviously going about my life? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Liam. We need to talk. This has gone far enough. I showed Cal, who laughed. Guess he doesn't like being exposed. Should I respond? Hell no. Let him sweat. But Liam wasn't content to wait. Around 9 o'clock, headlights swept across my front window. A car door slammed, followed by heavy footsteps on my porch. The doorbell rang 3 times in quick succession. Miles, I know you're in there. Open the door. Cal and I looked at each other. Want me to handle this? He asked. No, I've got it. I opened the door to find Liam standing on my porch, looking furious and desperate. His face was flushed, his hands clenched into fists. You snake, he said. You're destroying both of us. I'm telling the truth. Those photos are taken out of context. Are they? Which part is out of context? The part where you're groping my wife, or the part where she's melting into your arms? We were just dancing. No, Liam, you were just caught. He stepped closer, and I could smell alcohol on his breath. Take down that post, right now. Or what? Or I'll make you take it down. Cal appeared behind me. Is there a problem here? Liam looked at Cal, then back at me. This is between us. Actually, it's between you and my lawyer now, I said. But if you want to threaten me on my own property, feel free. I'm sure the neighbors would love to add that to the Facebook discussion. He looked around and seemed to realize that several porch lights had come on. Mrs. Patterson from across the street was openly watching from her window. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. It's been over since the moment you decided to screw my wife. He turned and stalked back to his car, tires squealing as he pulled away. Well, Cal said, that went better than expected. How do you figure? He didn't actually hit you, though he wanted to. The next morning brought a new development. I was getting ready for work when my phone rang. David Morrison, my lawyer. Miles, we need to talk. Brooke's attorney called this morning. About what? They're claiming harassment. Say you're using social media to defame her character. I posted photos from a public event. I know, and legally you're in the clear, but they're threatening to file a restraining order if you don't take down the Facebook post. Let them try. That's what I told them. But I wanted to give you a heads up. This is about to get nastier. How much nastier? They're going to claim emotional distress, maybe even stalking. They'll say you're trying to destroy her reputation and her business. What business? She's a freelance graphic designer who works maybe 10 hours a week. Doesn't matter. They're going to paint you as an abusive husband who's using the internet to get revenge. I thought about that while I drove to work. Was that what I was doing? Getting revenge? Maybe. But if telling the truth counted as revenge, then so be it. The firehouse was buzzing when I arrived. Apparently, my Facebook post had made the rounds there too. "Turner," Captain Ruiz called as I was changing into my uniform. "My office." I followed him into the small room behind the main bay. He closed the door and gestured for me to sit. "Hell of a thing," he said. "Yes, sir." "How are you holding up?" "I've been better." He leaned back in his chair. "I've been married 32 years. Seen a lot of guys go through divorces. Some handle it well, others—" He shrugged. "Others let it destroy them. I'm not planning on being destroyed." "Good. But I need to ask, is there anything about this situation that's going to affect your work? Any reason I should be concerned about your judgment or your focus?" "No, sir." "Because if you need time off or counseling or anything else, just say the word." "I appreciate that. But I'm fine." He studied my face for a long moment. "You sure about that? Because from where I'm sitting, you look like a man who's planning something." "I'm planning to get divorced and move on with my life." "That's it?" I met his eyes. "That's it." He nodded slowly. "All right then. But Miles? Whatever you're thinking about doing, make sure it's worth the consequences." The restraining order hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday. David Morrison assured me it would be thrown out, but the fact that Brooke was willing to go that far told me everything I needed to know about where we stood. "She's desperate," he explained as we walked into the courthouse. "The Facebook post destroyed her narrative. Now she's trying to make you look like the aggressor. Will it work? Not if the judge has half a brain." Brooke was already there with her attorney, a sharp-dressed woman named Patricia Vance, who had a reputation for taking men to the cleaners in divorce proceedings. Brooke looked smaller than I remembered, fragile in a way that seemed calculated for maximum sympathy. Liam was there too, sitting in the back row like some kind of moral support. When our eyes met, he looked away. The hearing lasted 20 minutes. Judge Martinez listened to both sides, reviewed the evidence, and made his decision. "Mrs. Turner, I've looked at the photographs in question, and I fail to see how posting pictures from a public event constitutes harassment. Your husband has made no threats, engaged in no stalking behavior, and posted nothing that wasn't already a matter of public record." Patricia Vance tried to argue, but Judge Martinez cut her off. "Furthermore, I find it troubling that you would seek a restraining order against your husband for simply telling his side of the story." Motion denied. Walking out of that courthouse felt like the first real victory I'd had in months, but it was also the moment I realized this was never going to end quietly. Brooke and Liam weren't going to slink away in shame. They were going to fight, and they were going to try to destroy me in the process. That night, I made a decision. If they wanted a war, I'd give them one. I started with the credit card statements. 25 years of marriage meant I knew every account, every password, every financial detail of our shared life. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. Dinner at Rossetti's on September 15th, a Tuesday when I was working a double shift. 2 rooms at the Marriott on September 22nd, charged to the credit card I'd given Brooke for emergencies. Flowers delivered to her mother's house on October 3rd, except Brooke's mother had been gone for 2 years. A jewelry store purchase on October 10th for $300, a bracelet I'd never seen her wear. Each transaction was a small betrayal, but together they painted a picture of a months-long affair funded by my own money. I printed everything and sent copies to David Morrison. Then I did something that probably wasn't smart, but felt absolutely necessary. I posted them on Facebook. For those asking how long this has been going on, here's your answer. These are credit card statements from our joint account over the past 2 months. I'll let you draw your own conclusions about what my wife was doing while I was working overtime to pay for our anniversary party. The response was swift and brutal. Within hours, the post had been shared hundreds of times. The comments ranged from supportive to outraged to downright vicious. She used your own money to cheat on you? That's cold. I can't believe she charged a hotel room to your credit card. This is beyond disrespectful. I'm so sorry, Miles. Brooke and Liam are disgusting human beings. But it was the private messages that really got to me. Dozens of people reaching out to share their own stories of betrayal, to offer support, to tell me they'd suspected something was wrong for months. One message stood out. This is Tom Henderson. I owe you a huge apology. Lisa and I believed Brooke when she said you were being controlling and jealous. We should have known better. If there's anything we can do to help, just say the word. Another. Miles, this is Jennifer Walsh. I saw Liam's car in your driveway 3 different times when you were at work. I should have said something. I'm sorry. And another. This is Captain Rodriguez from Station 12. Half the department has been following this mess on Facebook. We've got your back, brother. By midnight, my phone was buzzing constantly with messages of support. It felt good, but it also felt dangerous. I was winning the battle for public opinion, but I was also escalating a conflict that was already out of control. I found out just how out of control the next morning. I was having coffee when someone pounded on my front door. Not knocked, pounded, like they were trying to break it down. I opened it to find Liam standing there, but this wasn't the defeated man who'd shown up a few days earlier. This was someone who'd clearly spent the night drinking and working himself into a rage. "You bastard," he snarled, pushing past me into my house. "You're destroying our lives. Get out. Do you have any idea what you've done? Brooke can't show her face in town. I'm getting serious threats. My boss is asking questions about my expense accounts." "Good." He spun around, eyes wild. "Good? You think this is good?" "I think it's justice." "Justice? You want justice? Here's some justice for you." He pulled out his phone and showed me a video. It took me a moment to recognize what I was looking at. Security footage from what looked like a parking lot. "What is this?" "This is you, 3 nights ago, slashing my tires." "I never slashed your tires." "Bullshit. Look at the timestamp. Look at the license plate on that truck. That's you, Miles, and now I've got proof." I stared at the video. The figure was wearing dark clothes and a baseball cap, making identification impossible. But the truck did look like mine, and the timestamp showed 2:30 a.m. on the night I'd posted the credit card statements. That's not me. Tell it to the police. I'm filing charges this afternoon. Liam, I swear to you, I never touched your car. Save it for the judge. He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. You want to play games, Miles? Let's play games. But remember, you started this war. After he left, I sat in my kitchen trying to process what had just happened. Someone had slashed Liam's tires, and he had video evidence that seemed to implicate me. But I hadn't done it. I'd been home all night, asleep in my own bed. Unless... I went to my garage and checked my truck. The odometer reading seemed normal. There was no evidence I'd driven anywhere that night. But the video was damning, and I had no way to prove I hadn't been behind the wheel. My phone rang. David Morrison. Miles, we have a problem. Liam Prescott just filed charges against you for vandalism. There's a warrant out for your arrest. David, I didn't do it. I believe you, but we need to surrender you voluntarily before they come looking. Can you be at my office in an hour? This is insane. I know, but we'll figure it out. Just don't say anything to anyone until I'm present. As I drove to David's office, I realized that Liam had been right about one thing. This was war now, and in war, the truth was often the first casualty. But I still had weapons they didn't know about, and I was far from finished using them. The arrest was humiliating but brief. I spent 4 hours in a holding cell before David got me released on my own recognizance. The vandalism charge was a misdemeanor, but it was enough to make me look like exactly what Brooke and Liam had been claiming: an unhinged ex-husband seeking revenge. The video is problematic, David admitted as we walked out of the police station. It's not clear enough for a positive identification, but it's clear enough to raise questions. I didn't do it. I know, but we need to prove that, and right now we can't. What about an alibi? You were home alone, asleep. That's not much of an alibi. I spent that night thinking about the video, trying to figure out who might have access to a truck that looked like mine. The answer came to me around midnight. Cal Rodriguez. We drove similar vehicles, and he'd been at my house that evening, drinking beer and talking strategy. But Cal was my friend. He wouldn't frame me for something like this, would he? The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Cal's apartment. He answered the door in his bathrobe, looking hungover and surprised. "Miles, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk." "About what?" "About Liam's tires." Something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or fear. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Someone slashed his tires 3 nights ago. Someone driving a truck that looks like mine. Someone who knew exactly where he lived and when he'd be asleep." Cal stepped back, letting me into his apartment. "You think I did it?" "Did you?" He was quiet for a long moment, staring at his feet. When he looked up, his face was resigned. "Yeah, I did it." "Jesus, Cal. Why?" "Because I was tired of watching you get screwed over. Because that bastard deserved it. Because sometimes the system doesn't work, and you have to take matters into your own hands. And you let me get arrested for it? I didn't know he had video. I thought it would just be another unsolved vandalism case." I sat down heavily on his couch. "Do you have any idea what you've done? They're using this to paint me as some kind of stalker. My lawyer thinks I might actually go to jail." "I'll fix it. I'll confess. Tell them it was me." "And say what? That you did it without my knowledge?" "They'll never believe that." "Then I'll say you asked me to do it. That makes me an accessory. Either way, I'm screwed." Cal ran his hands through his hair. "I'm sorry, Miles. I was trying to help." "By committing crimes?" "By fighting back. You're too nice, too honorable. You keep playing by the rules while they're destroying you." "So you decided to break the rules for me?" "Someone had to." I looked at my friend, my stupid, loyal, well-intentioned friend, and realized that he'd probably just cost me everything. The vandalism charge would undermine my credibility in the divorce proceedings. It would make me look unstable, violent, exactly what Brooke and Liam had been claiming all along. "What do you want me to do?" Cal asked. "I want you to stay away from me. I want you to stop trying to help, and I want you to pray that I can find a way out of this mess." I left his apartment and drove aimlessly around town trying to think. The vandalism charge was bad, but it wasn't fatal. David could probably get it reduced to a fine and community service. The real damage was to my reputation, and that was harder to repair. But maybe I didn't need to repair it. Maybe I needed to embrace it. That afternoon, I made another Facebook post. Some of you may have heard that I was arrested yesterday for vandalizing Liam Prescott's car. I want to address this directly. I didn't slash his tires, but I understand why someone might have. When you watch a man destroy a 25-year marriage and then play the victim, it's natural to want some form of justice. I don't condone vigilante action, but I understand the impulse. I paused, considering my next words carefully. What I do condone is the truth. And the truth is that Brooke and Liam have been lying to all of you from the beginning. They've portrayed me as an abusive husband, a controlling monster, a man who threatened his wife for having a male friend. But you've seen the evidence. You've seen the photos, the credit card statements, the timeline of deception. You know what really happened. I took a deep breath and typed the words that would either save me or destroy me. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop defending myself and start telling the whole truth. Not just about the affair, but about everything. About the years of emotional manipulation, the gaslighting, the way Brooke turned our friends against me while she was sleeping with my best friend. About the way Liam smiled to my face while he was stabbing me in the back. About the way they both tried to make me feel crazy for seeing what was right in front of my eyes. I attached a folder of documents, text messages I'd screenshot from Brooke's phone that night, emails between her and Liam that I'd found on our shared computer, even recordings of phone conversations I'd made when I first started suspecting something was wrong. This is everything. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment of gaslighting over the past year. I'm done being the nice guy. I'm done taking the high road. If they want to destroy my reputation, they can explain these first. I hit post and waited. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within minutes, people were commenting, sharing, expressing outrage at what they were seeing. The evidence was damning. Months of secret communications, plans to leave me, discussions about how to hide their relationship until the timing was right. But the most damaging revelation was in a series of text messages from just 2 weeks before our anniversary party. Brooke. I can't keep pretending much longer. He's starting to suspect. Liam. Just get through the party. After that, we can figure out our next move. Brooke. What if he finds out? Liam. He won't. He's too trusting, too stupid. Brooke. I feel terrible about this. Liam. You feel terrible about being happy? About finally being with someone who appreciates you? Brooke. I feel terrible about lying to him. He's a good man. Liam. If he was such a good man, you wouldn't need me. The comments section exploded. They called you stupid? After everything you did for them? This is sociopathic behavior. They planned this whole thing. I can't believe they were going to string you along even longer. You deserve so much better than these people. But it was a comment from someone I didn't recognize that really got to me. My ex-husband did the same thing to me, cheated for months, then tried to make me think I was crazy when I confronted him about it. Thank you for showing that we're not alone, and we're not crazy. Sometimes the truth really is exactly what it looks like. That night, my phone rang constantly. Friends calling to apologize, to offer support, to express their outrage at what Brooke and Liam had done. Even people I barely knew were reaching out, sharing their own stories of betrayal and manipulation. But the call that mattered most came around midnight. Miles? It was Brooke, and she sounded broken. Can we please talk? Face to face? I don't think that's a good idea. Please. I know you hate me and you have every right to, but I need to explain. Explain what? The text messages explain everything. They don't tell the whole story. Then tell me the whole story. She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I was lonely, Miles. You worked all the time. We never talked anymore. We'd become like roommates instead of husband and wife. And Liam was there, and he listened to me, and he made me feel special again. So, you decided to have an affair. I decided to have a friend. The affair just happened. For 6 months? I kept trying to end it, but every time I tried, you'd work another double shift, or cancel another dinner, or fall asleep on the couch instead of coming to bed. And Liam would be there telling me I deserved better. So, this is my fault? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I made a terrible mistake, and I don't know how to fix it. You can't fix it, Brooke. You can't unmake the choice you made. Can't we try counseling? Can't we at least try to save our marriage? I thought about that for a long moment. 25 years was a lot to throw away, and despite everything, I had loved her once. Do you love him? I asked. Another long silence. Yes, she whispered. I do. Then there's nothing to save. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, I would face whatever consequences came from my nuclear option. Tonight, I just wanted to sit in my quiet house and mourn the end of my marriage. But I wasn't mourning the woman who'd betrayed me. I was mourning the woman I'd thought I was married to, the one who'd never really existed at all. The vandalism charges were dropped 2 weeks later when Cal came forward and confessed. It cost him his job at the fire department, but it cleared my name and gave me back some credibility in the divorce proceedings. Not that I needed it anymore. The Facebook posts had done their work. Public opinion had shifted so decisively in my favor that Brooke's attorney advised her to accept whatever settlement I offered, rather than risk a trial. She was radioactive in Millbrook now, unable to show her face in public without facing whispers and stares. Liam had it even worse. His boss at the financial planning firm had seen the posts and decided that a man who would betray his best friend couldn't be trusted with client money. He was fired on a Tuesday and had to leave town by Friday to escape the social pressure. The divorce was finalized on a cold December morning. Brooke got half the house equity and her car. I kept everything else, including my pension and the respect of everyone who mattered. She moved to Portland the next week. I heard through the grapevine that she and Liam were living together in a small apartment, both working retail jobs and trying to rebuild their lives. I felt no satisfaction in their downfall, but I felt no sympathy either. The firehouse threw me a divorce party at the Harbor Light Bar on New Year's Eve. It was supposed to be a celebration, but it felt more like a wake for the man I used to be. The trusting man, the forgiving man, the man who believed in second chances and the basic goodness of people. That man was gone, burned away by months of betrayal and manipulation. What remained was harder, more cynical, but also more honest about the world and the people in it. "Speech!" someone called out as the clock approached midnight. I found myself holding a beer, surrounded by friends and colleagues who'd stood by me through the worst year of my life. They were looking at me expectantly, waiting for some words of wisdom or gratitude. "You know," I said, "a year ago I thought I knew everything about loyalty, about friendship, about love. I thought the people closest to me would never betray me, would never lie to me, would never try to make me doubt my own eyes and ears." The room was quiet, listening. I was wrong about that, but I was right about something else. The truth has a way of coming out. It might take time, it might be painful, but eventually the masks come off and people show you who they really are. I raised my beer. So here's to the truth, ugly as it might be. Here's to the friends who stick around when things get messy, and here's to the courage to walk away from people who don't deserve a place in your life, no matter how much history you share with them. "Cheers," the room responded, and we drank as the clock struck midnight. Later, as I was getting ready to leave, Captain Ruiz pulled me aside. "How are you really doing, Miles?" "Better than I expected. Different than I hoped." "Any regrets?" I thought about that. Did I regret the Facebook posts, the public humiliation of two people I'd once cared about, the scorched earth approach that had destroyed not just my marriage, but their entire lives in Millbrook? "No," I said finally. "No regrets." "Good, because you handled this better than most men would have." "How do you figure?" "You could have beaten the hell out of him. You could have keyed her car or burned down his house or done any of 100 violent, stupid things that would have landed you in prison. Instead, you just told the truth and let the consequences fall where they would. The truth was enough. In this case, yeah, it was more than enough." I drove home through empty streets, past houses where families were sleeping off their New Year's celebrations. My own house was dark and quiet, but it felt peaceful rather than lonely. For the first time in months, I was exactly where I wanted to be. The next morning brought a single text message from an unknown number. I know you'll probably never forgive me, and I don't blame you, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not just for getting caught, but for what I did to you. You deserved better. You always deserved better. I hope you find happiness with someone who appreciates what a good man you are. B. I read it twice, then deleted it. Some apologies come too late to matter, and some bridges burn too completely to ever be rebuilt. But as I made coffee and watched the sun rise on the first day of my new life, I realized that maybe that was okay. Maybe some things were supposed to end completely, without reconciliation or forgiveness or tidy resolution. Maybe sometimes the best revenge was simply moving on and being happy without the people who'd tried to destroy you. I raised my coffee mug in a solitary toast to the empty kitchen. Here's to new beginnings, I said aloud, and to the people who don't get to be part of them. Outside, the first snow of the year was starting to fall, covering the old world in clean white silence. By spring, even the scars would be invisible. But I would remember. I would remember everything, and I would never be that trusting again. Some lessons can only be learned once.